everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life. I am your host, Lori Palau, and I am really excited to be chatting with you guys today. So many of our listeners are women. So many of them are entrepreneurs. A lot of them are aspiring entrepreneurs, or maybe they're just like at a crossroads in their life. And so much of what we talk about here, and again, we pepper this in with, because I think it's part of what makes an organized life, not just the physical clutter, not just your calendar clutter and all the tactical things, but how do we incorporate work and career and passions and all of those things into making sure that we are our best versions of ourselves. And today's guest is going to talk all about it. We were introduced a few months ago, and I just loved everything about her. I loved everything about her story and her journey and her energy. And I know it's a topic that we've talked about before, which is about women's entrepreneurship. But it's, every time I hear and speak to other women entrepreneurs who have started their own business and have had their own stories and their own journeys, I learned something from them. And Laura, today's guest, is no different. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about her. I'm going to just give you her bio. So Laura Markz is a former online strategy executive turned corporate dropout. I love that. Entrepreneur and a mom of two. She's got over a decade of experience building businesses online and being in the trenches herself. And she's currently the founder of MyBizU, which of course we're going to link to, where her mission is to help moms across the globe build their own businesses, which we love that. And a lot of people really struggle with knowing, I'm good at this, I like this, but how do I turn that into a profession? Should I turn this into a profession? Would people buy what I'm selling or offering? And how do I get started? And Laura's done that. She's walked the walk, and she's going to talk about her method and her story. And she's also had a pretty unique story of kind of like her own wake-up call, which she's going to talk about when she was giving birth. I think it was to her first. I could be wrong. It might be her second one. I'm not sure. But giving birth to one of her kids, and she had a big wake-up call, and she's going to talk about this. But today we're going to talk all about how you can integrate work and life. We had our conversation not too long ago with my friend Emily Hay on work-life integration, and it was hugely popular. So I figured I wanted to continue that conversation with somebody else. And so joining me is Laura Markz. And without further ado, I'm going to bring her out and let her talk all about herself. So Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to finally get to chat with you about all of this.
I know it's super, it's something that you and I are both passionate about. We've talked about it offline, and I love anybody that is willing to kind of come on and share their own journey, not just of successes, because of course we want to hear that, but I think there's so much to be said for the struggles and hearing how people have overcome their own struggles and kind of persevered through their own insecurities or uncertainty and still kind of continued on. And that's one of the first things that drew me to you. So I gave our listeners a real top line overview, but in your own words, can you just tell a little bit about who you are and your background?
Yeah, so I'm a former online strategy executive. I left. We'll get into that story about why. Now I'm a podcast host. I have a video series. I'm an entrepreneur. I have two little boys now, 3.5 and 1.5. And yeah, I'm on a mission to completely change the game of entrepreneurship, flipping what's notoriously known for being a high risk, high stress path on its head, reinventing the game to work for the biggest bosses out there, which is us women. And I have a particular focus on moms just because that's my own story. And we're going to be talking a little bit about why moms in particular I'm passionate about, but really just women in general in entrepreneurship is really my goal. And the goal really is to help them turn their passions and their strengths or an idea that they may already have into a profitable business that's perfectly designed for them, for their lives and their goals, and how they can make it happen on top of an already busy schedule, like literally in less than 1 hour a day. So that's kind of the short But I know we do want to get into a little bit around my journey into entrepreneurship. I don't know if you want me to dive into that now.
No, go ahead. Feel free.
All
Yeah,
right.
definitely. Because I think people love hearing where people come from.
Yeah. So, in my former life, I led online strategy for multi-million dollar companies. My job was essentially to market and grow businesses online. And as many listening can relate to, like throughout my 20s, like I worked my butt off. Like I was the first one in, the last one out. I was working 60+ hour weeks. I traveled, I climbed the corporate ladder, I built a team. And if I'm being completely honest, I didn't hate it. Like I love working and I was great at it, was rewarding until my tipping point. A few years ago, almost 4 years ago now, I became a mom. And as many listeners are aware, that alone is completely life-changing. But on top of that, I had a near-death experience following the birth of my son. I won't get into the details because it's a real buzzkill. If anyone's listening is planning on having more kids, they probably don't want to know. But after emergency surgery, my third and final surgery in a matter of weeks, I stayed up all night, lying in the hospital bed, my mind racing about my life and the life of my new baby. And I thought, you know what? Like, life is way too short to not be going after what I want, to not wake up every single day doing something I love, and to not be in charge of how I spend my time that felt so much more valuable now. Like, I wanted to create something, to make an impact, to set an example for my child of what's possible, and to live life how I wanted to live it without being limited to only after 6 p.m. and on the weekends. And as I lay in my hospital bed, with thinking about all of that, like in so much pain, like physically and emotionally, it was literally like out of a movie. The sun like rose and like crept into my sterile, gloomy room. And I said, F it, YOLO, let's do this. Like I literally said that out loud. My mom was laying in on the couch in my room and woke up and was like, are you talking to yourself? I was like, yes, I am. I'm talking to myself. I'm quitting my job and I'm starting my own thing. And she's like, okay, that's nice, sweetie. Probably thinking I was the
On pain meds. I was going to say you're on pain meds.
Yeah. She was like, that's not going to happen. You just bought a house. You just have a baby. Like that's probably the worst thing you can do right now. But none of that mattered. You know, after going through what I'd went through, I was like, this is going to happen. I'm going to make it happen. Right when I was released from the hospital, I quit my job. I spent a couple months snuggling in the fat little rolls of my baby. And I began mapping out my plan for not only living bigger, but living better. And I had no idea what I was doing. I knew that with my background that I was probably set up for success more than others. Cause I was like, okay, like I did this for a living. I built like $1 million strategies for businesses online and helping them grow and scale and all of that. I was like, I got this. And yeah, I started on my journey and figuring it out.
Are you an Enneagram person?
I am obsessed with Enneagram. I'm a 3.
Shocker.
And followed closely by a 7.
Okay. So definitely, I mean, it's definitely very 3 characteristics for people that, that are Enneagram enthusiasts. So 3s are the achiever. And so my husband's a 3 and I know a lot about 3s. And so the fact that you are really passionate and successful comes as no surprise. And I think it's interesting. And I know that there's probably people out there that can relate to you. But on the other hand, I think there's people that feel like that's so not me. I never ran a multi-million dollar brand, or I don't have the confidence to do that, or the what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word, but like the fear of instability of going from a paycheck to building something from the ground up just doesn't seem like I can't see the forest through the trees. Like that I can't wrap my head around it. And I think there are people that are like, know that they're good in the entrepreneurial space. Like I'm one of those people. And my husband always jokes like you couldn't work for a company because you'd be an HR nightmare. I think there are people that just naturally are a little bit more inclined to that. And it's not that anybody couldn't be an entrepreneur, but there's people that are naturally drawn to that. And then there are people that go, there's a lot of variables in entrepreneurship that I don't know if I'm prepared for, even though there's so many parts of the freedom that can come with that, I don't know how to, I don't know if this is right for me. And I don't know if I could do that. Can you like speak to that a little bit for those people?
Oh, yes, I can. Because they're not wrong. Okay. Like I'll kind of get in. I literally, because what I built my career on, yeah, I thought it was going to be a breeze. Okay. And yes, I had some aspects of my personality, as we talked about, and my experience that were helpful. But what helped me grow inside of a corporation does not translate to entrepreneurship. And the failures, the pitfalls, the things, the mistakes that I made along the way are mistakes that everyone makes, literally everyone, whether or not they succeed or not. But that is why the majority of them fail. And we can dive into that as well. But yeah, the other piece is like all the reasons that you said why moms especially don't get into entrepreneurship is because our perception, which is a real perception of entrepreneurship as we know it, is that it is high risk. Like we don't want to be taking these risks. Like we are moms now, we have responsibilities. It takes time. Like the perception of owning your own business, that's going to take over your life. Like I, again, have no time. Like that even though every single mom goes through the thought of, wouldn't it be cool if, the vast majority of them end up saying, that's just not possible. That's not even possible in the realm of possibility in my imagination to even pull off. Like, where would I even start? I don't have the time. I don't know if I have the experience. And I don't want to, if they work, if they are producing income for their family, they don't want to quit and put their family at risk. And literally all of those things I am looking to flip completely on its head with MyBizU to make it not risky, to make it not time consuming, and most importantly, to make it really fit into their lives. Because I feel like a lot of women get into entrepreneurship and like me, they think it's going to be a total cakewalk. Or they get in and they glom onto what people that they see who are successful and that they admire. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to start a business like them. I'm going to start a blog, or I'm going to be an influencer, or whatever, whoever they see that they admire. And they're like, okay, they're successful, I can be too. When that is not the case. Like we all come into this life and into our careers and whatever it is that we pursue with different passions, different strengths, different skill sets, different goals, different desires, different expectations. Like there is not a one size fits all path. So all of these things I am changing with this program, because when I started my business, I started the wrong type of business. Like I kid you not, I thought I was going to be a mom blogger, and that would have been a total disaster. If you do not know this about me, I am like a total B- mom. Like I'm not even that great at it. And my business changed like 8 times. It was a big struggle for me to figure out what the right business was. And I would base a lot of my decisions based on people that I admired who were successful, as opposed to looking inward at what I wanted and what I would be successful doing. I also found myself working overtime, trying to figure everything out to get it off the ground. Like I spent way too much time and money, like trying to look the part, because I'm a perfectionist, like getting this giant website up, like investing in professional branding, starting a blog and a podcast, like growing my social media following, all these things that made me feel like I was making progress without making any progress. And I was hustling every day once my business was up, creating content and resources to attract people in, like posting to social media, pushing out all these emails, wasting money on ads that weren't working, like trying to get on the reels, get a Facebook group going, like do ads, like doing it all, like thinking that all these experts are telling me this is what I have to do. So the more that I do, the more I will be successful. Because that ultimately was how I was successful in the corporate world, and how so many people are, because they put in the hours. They show up, they're the first to show up, last one to show up or leave, like they're hustling. And that hustle does not apply in entrepreneurship to be successful. It does not need to apply if you're approaching it right. And we can get into kind of how that we're flipping the script on that. But months and months and thousands of dollars later, like I was burnt out. Like I wasn't even excited about my business. Everything felt like an uphill battle. All of that work was overwhelming, and I was quickly burning through my savings with little to show for it. So I coming in with everything that I had to pump the brakes. Like I contemplated quitting, just looking for a new job, but I was like, no, like after what I had gone through, now that I'm a mom, like I couldn't imagine being off at work 10 hours a day, rushing out the door every morning, like getting my son to daycare, running around at night, trying to do all of the things, let alone like actually spending any quality time with him. And I was like, no, like I do not want that life. I knew I was meant for more. I had to keep going and I needed to figure this out. And I know, like you said, not everyone is type A like me. Not everyone has huge aspirations with their career, but my point is that doesn't matter. Like that is the beauty of entrepreneurship, is you can make it what you want to make it. Like some people want to build massive empires and live next to one of the Real Housewives. Like that may or may not be my personal goal. Well, others just want to pursue a passion, have a creative outlet, maybe make some extra cash so they can get some time away from their kids, buy some more athleisure wear, which we all need more of, by the way, or get a nice vacation. So that is the beauty of entrepreneurship and the potential for entrepreneurship for women, for moms. And the way we're approaching it, the way that we're, taking on way too much as a part of the hustle, like really focusing on the wrong things, trying to get it up and running, like spending too much time on a logo and a website when you can get that up in a matter of days. And just starting, like setting ourselves up for failure before we even start, like going after something, like designing an overall business model, business, like the branding, the positioning, all of that in a way that doesn't align with them. And therefore they're building a ladder towards a destination that they don't even want to go to. So yeah, that's kind of the big roadblocks that people hit. That is with why people have the perception that entrepreneurship is a scary path and not one that is one they would ever consider. But literally all of those are moot points. Like none of those have to be the case. We are not blazing new trails as entrepreneurs, as people say. Your idea, your individual uniqueness and your spin and how you're solving a particular problem should be unique. And I show you how to do that. But everything else, like there's a recipe for that. Like there's a blueprint for that. Marketing is not new. Getting a website branding up is not new. So really the secret sauce, like your individuality, like where it should be new, is the designing of your business and what that is. And everything, I have a framework inside the program that teaches women how to really identify what that is and design that for them.
Well, I really thanks for kind of mapping that out. And obviously you're just like a ball of energy, which is so great. And I just kind of want to just go back and hit a few of the key points that I think are really important. And I think one of them is, our negative voices, whether it comes to organizing our space or our lives or motherhood or whatever, always tends to rear louder than kind of what our dreams are, at least for most people. And so it's easier to lean into like, this won't work, or there's other people doing this, or I'm not going to be able to do something part-time or whatever it is, and kind of talk ourselves out of things before we start. So I think it's really, that's an important point. Another thing that I want to also talk about is, obviously I tie everything back to how I define organized, an organized life. That's for me what it is. And I talk about work-life integration and really about working smarter. That's like anybody that goes to my website, it's right there on my header page, teaching people to live simply and work smarter. And, there's no badge. You don't win a badge for being the first person there or working a 12-hour day versus it's about, are you working smart? Are you making an impact for the time that you're there? And I think that that's really important because again, it's that I always talk about that busy award. We all want to get that. I was so busy today. I was so this. And it's really looking about being productive and are you moving that needle, whatever it is. And so I like that you are telling women and showing them that it doesn't have to take over. It doesn't have to be the either or. It can be a both and, which is one of the big things that I talk about in trying to, have that organized life.
Yes. And that honestly is what attracted me to you, because simplicity is everything in entrepreneurship. It is such a noisy place. It is so easy to get sucked into what everyone is telling you to do and believing that that is going to be your secret to success. Your success, in addition to once you nail down the right direction that you're going towards, is to cut, is to figure out what you don't need. And then for the things that you do, simplify them. Like, where can you leverage systems? Where can you leverage tools, templates? And all of those I put inside my framework within MyBizU so that you can do those things as simply as possible. And you don't even need to worry about okay, what should my priorities be? What's worth my time and what isn't? All of that is mapped out for you, because it's going to be different for every person. That is the biggest thing, is there is no one size fits all. I think a lot of people are often targeted with messages of, start a certain type of business, or, build a digital product, or that isn't the answer for everybody. That's actually a horrible idea for a lot of people. Just like entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. Although I'm completely flipping the accessibility, I'm flipping it on its head and opening up the accessibility of entrepreneurship. Some people don't have that desire to pursue a creative passion or to achieve at a certain level when it comes to their careers. And those individuals, that they are doing what they should be doing. But for those that think, I'm missing something. I'm missing something in my career. I'm missing something, if they're stay-at-home moms, I'm missing my own creative passion and sense of fulfillment, or I feel out of control of my own time. And I know if I just spent a fraction of the time and energy that I put into my job, into my own thing, I know I could make it work if someone told me the steps to take to do it. I did have thoughts of being an entrepreneur. I wasn't born selling lemonade. Well, I probably was, but I wasn't I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Absolutely not. I was one of those people where I didn't pick my major until halfway through college. So that's not clear for everybody. But what you need to really figure out is what do you want, and what do you think is the easiest way to build that ladder towards that destination? That's the biggest thing.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but we have to take a quick break. When we come back, I want you to kind of elaborate on that. And one of the things that you talk about, which, I'll give you a second to think about, is you say that you think moms are actually one of the best categories, I'll call them, to be entrepreneurs. And I want to talk into that and just really give some specifics. So sit tight. We'll be right back and continue our conversation with my friend Laura Markz. Okay, Laura. So right before break, you were talking about, whether people knew they wanted to be entrepreneurs always, or it was something that was kind of there a little bit, oh, wouldn't it be fun to do this, but never really kind of gave it any real attention. One of the things that you talk about is the fact that as a category of people, moms are best suited for entrepreneurship, in your opinion. Wondering how you came up with that. I'm not saying I disagree at all, because we all know that women and moms can rule the world. But can you just give some specifics surrounding that and kind of just lean into that a little bit?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Moms, I mean, we've been through the ringer. I mean, I was just talking about nearly dying after giving birth to my first son, and I went back for seconds and still want another. Like, we are resilient with a lot, and there's a level of resiliency that's required for entrepreneurship, regardless of the path that you take, because you will not learn unless you have some hiccups along the way. And if you don't have that grounded in the desire for what you ultimately want, it's going to be difficult to maintain that. And we have a lot to fight for. I mean, it isn't just about us. Like, for most of us, failure isn't an option. And that level of commitment and persistence to see something through is honestly the number one trait of successful entrepreneurs. I mean, we're quick learners. I mean, when they like hand you that baby on the way out of the hospital and you're like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, this is wild. I mean, we figure it out. And by going through that process, we've built up trust in ourselves, in our ability to just make stuff happen, to figure things out. And that is a part of the process. Even though, like, inside MyBizU, we give you that roadmap of exactly what you should follow, there are things that, as the owner of your business, you'll need to be thinking strategically about to solve problems, to pivot when necessary, and to have that thick skin to be able to stick it out.
So again, and I don't want this, we want to give resources for people, right? So this isn't necessarily like a sales pitch for MyBizU, but I do want
No,
to get
no.
people an insight. Like, so I know there's some common mistakes, right? Or I don't even know if mistakes, but common things that entrepreneurs tend to fall into, like traps that they fall into that I'm sure are repeated. I work specifically a lot with people that are professional organizers. And I know in my industry, I hear the same recurring themes. I struggle with X. I'm having problems with X, and so these are recurring themes that I hear a lot of times from people. And so, as I know in my world, when I coach and mentor other professional organizers, these are areas that I address because I've been through them and I know that this is like a common thread throughout. Now you cross over a lot of different verticals, right? I just want to clarify, like, my BizU is for anybody that's selling something on Etsy to wanting to start a course creation business. Like, can you just talk a little bit about who's it a good candidate for and what are some of the common things that you see maybe across industry?
Yeah. So my biggest thing is I don't prescribe particular business models. What I have done is broken out the top ways to monetize a business or an idea within the program. And I connect those things to the four aspects of what will make a great business for you. Because we kind of already touched on this, but that's the first mistake that people make is they go after the wrong thing and they create, they're building the ladder towards a completely wrong destination without even realizing it. So first and foremost, your passion. So different business models are going to light you up more than others. And it's not something that's easy to understand at the surface level. Like, you're going to look at someone with a digital course business and be like, that looks wonderful, because you see surface level, okay, laptop life, like they can live anywhere, passive income, blah, blah, blah. But like, are you ready to build curriculum? Like they don't talk about, are you someone who is suitable for delivering that program? Like, do you have that aspect of your personality? If you don't, that does not mean entrepreneurship is wrong for you. It just means that particular path is. So we look at your passions and your strengths, and we connect those with which business model is right for you. I do want to say a lot of people come in with an idea. And an idea may be fleshed out to just like a concept. Like, I'm thinking about, I want to help people with this. I'm not sure how. And some people come in with a full blown idea. Like, they're like, I want to sell this product on Etsy. I don't like to derail people that are grounded in what they want to do. I do make them aware then, okay, if you fall short in these particular areas that are required to be successful, to be an Etsy seller, to be a digital course business, you're not aware of them. And if this is still something you want to do, doesn't mean you shouldn't go for it. It just means now you know where you need to supplement with support, with a tool, with whatever. affordably supplement so that you can be successful. That knowledge, that understanding of where your strengths are going to shine and what you're pursuing and where your weaknesses may hold you back if you don't address them or you're not aware of them and address them along the way. That, I mean, is so powerful in making sure you're successful. But again, those that come in with no idea, we get you to the right idea and let you know where you're going to be set up to be the most successful. And then it's not just about you and who you are and what you bring to the table as the CEO of whatever venture you're beginning. It also has to do with your audience and what you desire, like what you want out of your day to day. Like, what do you want your day to day to look like? Like, what are requirements for you? And what are your ultimate goals? Like I said, like some people want to build $1 million businesses, others are just looking for a way to access time for themselves. Like so they can pay for childcare for their kids a couple days a week so they can really focus in on something that they're passionate about. And then that would require monetizing something. Like if we had all the time in the world and all the money in the world, we would all have a million hobbies that we'd pursue. Like if you have time and money, pursue a hobby. But if you have a goal, a vision for what you want to achieve and the desire, and you also need money to be able to pursue that, like let's figure out how to monetize that. So when we look at what you want out of your day to day, so what you want out of your life today and what you want out of tomorrow, then we also align what business models are going to allow you to do that, and as well as supplemental revenue streams to help you get there. And then lastly is your audience. Like not only like who are you most passionate about serving? Like obviously for me, like women, I'm clearly a woman, so I resonate with that. But like moms tend to resonate most with my story. And I tend to connect most with them because of what I've gone through and how that was my own personal journey into entrepreneurship. So you really have to figure out, okay, like not who's going to buy from you. That's another big problem. Everyone's like, okay, well, I want anyone who's going to buy from me to be my audience. And that is the absolute way to fail, because then you're going to have messaging that doesn't resonate with anybody. So it's really figuring out like who are you most passionate about serving? Who do you think you most resonate with? And how do you create an offer and position that so that they will want to buy from you? So those are the pieces of that framework and really developing a business that makes sense for you, but also that's going to get you what you want.
I love everything you're saying because I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so great. And for any of my fellow organizers that are out there, it's like, this is exactly what I mean, not exactly, but like that's, I have these conversations. I no joke, by hand to God. Earlier today, I had a conversation with one of our organizers that's in our SBO partner program. And she was talking about her thoughts for her business and how she wants to maybe potentially sell some digital stuff. And I had this conversation with her saying, okay, do you really want to be running Facebook ads? And I'm not saying no, but like, do you want to be doing that? And do you want to spend time creating this and marketing it? Or is that, and she's like, no, I just kind of wanted to. And I was like, then we can use it. We can use this content, but use it differently. She was like, thank you. I never thought of it that way. And I think so many people have these ideas, not that they're bad ideas, but they have these ideas, but having an outsider to give them some clarity and direction of how to use their time and their gifts wisely is really the part, because this particular person was getting frustrated because she was working hard and doing all the things, but it wasn't being effective. And when we really dialed it back and had this conversation about it, it made sense. And all we had to do was like pivot a few things. And it gave her like all of this weight was lifted off. And so I love that you're doing this for women. I mean, obviously, I'm sure it's open to anybody, but primarily your audience is women. And I love that you're offering this kind of safe space for people to grow and explore and say, I might not know this. Like, I'm good at this, but I say this all the time. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you're good at running a business. Running a
Right.
business is a skill in and of itself. And it's a learned skill, but surrounding yourselves with the people and the resources to help you get there is great, so that you can have the freedom to spend time and live your most organized life, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, that is the biggest thing. Like, one of the callings that I had was through my story. Like, there is a mom dilemma out there. Like,
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit, because you were
yeah,
talking
like,
about the mom dilemma. Go ahead.
absolutely. In our society, we are really given two options, like work full time or stay at home full time. So you're either working your butt off all day with no time to spend with your kids, or you're with your kids all day with no escape from them. Like, part-time working isn't really an option, because in most companies, if you actually have big goals, you're left out of a lot of opportunities if you ask to cut a day or if you go down to halftime. So if you actually want to make something out of yourself, you'll end up finding yourself, or like if you go back to work after your kids get into school, you'll find yourself in a position that you are way overqualified for, simply because you had that gap or because you are asking for time off. So we're left feeling like we're failing at something, because success at home comes at the expense of time with our kids, and time with our kids comes at the expense of building our careers. Like, not to mention marriage, friendships, and like hashtag self-care. And the dilemma stretches further than just moms working a 9 to 5. Like, I mean, I used to look at stay-at-home mom life. Like, when I was young, I was like, I'm imagining them like meditating in the morning, like reading a book in the den, like doing fun things with their kids, like having liquid lunch with the girls. And like, we all know as moms, like, a stay-at-home mom life is literally, that's the hardest job on earth. And when you're on duty 24/7, especially when the kids are young, you have to spend all your time keeping them from turning into feral children. So it could suck the life out of you more than a 9 to 5 would. So we're stuck in this all or nothing scenario where to succeed in one area, huge sacrifices have to be made at home, with our careers, or both. And the vast majority of us, whether we're at home or have a career, can't even get time alone to go to the bathroom, let alone spend our passions and interests, like spend on our passions and interests when we have young kids, like kids my age. So on top of feeling like we're failing, we have a huge void when it comes to what we want, like what we want to do, what we want to learn, what we want to accomplish. And it's honestly mind blowing to me that these are our only options: to be away from our kids full time or to be with them full time. Like, they aren't cutting it for everybody. Like, and that was really what drew me in, is like, we need a better option. Like, we need another option for those that have some aspirations for themselves outside of their aspirations as a mother, and those that want to build a career but perhaps are held back from doing exactly what they want to do, whether they're in a job that they don't like, or they're in a job that they may like but they are told to work certain parameters that they just don't want to work. Like, they know if they could do it on their own, they would do it better. They would do it faster. They'd get it done and enjoy and leave every day at 3, enjoy their kids. So I want to give moms, women, an option that excites us and that gives us that freedom and that flexibility to work when, where and how we want, like on our terms, and allowing us to achieve our own goals and aspirations while thriving in our lives outside of that. And starting your own business can get you that. But as we've talked about, not just any kind of business, not entrepreneurship as we know it today, because like we said, like the way we view entrepreneurship and the way people have traditionally approached starting and running a business is all wrong. That's why so many who do pursue it find themselves working harder than they did at a 9 to 5, and why so many, especially moms, avoid it in the first place. Like, it can be easy. Like, you can design it where you are actually working. Your day to day is on things that you actually want to work on. It is it is a ladder that everything that you are working towards is getting you to exactly where you want to be. And the day to day, like, yeah, you want clients and customers, but you didn't start a business to spend all day getting clients and customers. Like, how can we automate that? Like, we are in the year 2021. Like, if we do not like posting to social media every day, don't post to social media every day. Like, I personally was like, I don't want to post to social media for all my ex-boyfriends and college classmates to see, like, and ex-coworkers. Like, that's not a path that many want to take when it comes to marketing. And it doesn't have to be that way. That's a lot of what we see. We don't see a lot of ways to market where like we can just wipe our hands clean of it, build a quick page and a thank you page and get people into our offer without ever lifting a finger. So it's really about figuring out, okay, well, first of all, it's about realizing, first understanding, okay, is this something I want? Like, do I have that desire? You don't need that idea. What you need is the desire. Either a strong desire to get out of the situation you're currently in, or a strong pull towards a passion or a destination that you want to be, or a combination of those two. If you have that, once you realize that, then realize that entrepreneurship can get you that if you approach it right. If you are headed in the right direction with your business, if you find a way to get it up and running quickly in a matter of days without spending all that money on it, and if you can market it in a way that excites you. So you're doing things that you like, you're automating what you don't, and you're getting customers without feeling like you're spending every day trying to get customers.
Oh my gosh. So much information. We didn't even get to scratch the surface on things that I wanted to talk about, like you and your family and your kids, but this has been such a great conversation. Um, if anybody, and one thing I just want to add to what you said before we go, because we're almost at the wrapping up our hour, is, obviously you have littles, so you speak to that audience. A lot of what you are teaching people also can really be relatable for moms of bigs who are going through a transition where their kids are in school full time and they're having more time, or their kids are empty nesters and now they're looking to have a new chapter. So I think, as we go through, I just want to say to all the women out there, as we go through different seasons of our lives, there are going to be different times where, as entrepreneurs, we lean into our businesses differently, and we lean into the things that our passions and our interests and whatever that looks like. And so I love the fact that you're giving this platform for people to be able to do this. Before we go to our last break, can you just let people know if they want to learn more about you or MyBizU or connect up with you, where can they go?
Yeah, just head to mylifemybiz.com/organized. What I've done is I put together a free training for all of your listeners. It's like a little mini course that if this is something you're interested in, I walk you through exactly what the process looks like what that blueprint is to get you from where you are to a successful business that is making the income you want in 90 days. So that is at mylifemybiz.com/organized. And they can learn more about MyBizU at joinmybizu.com. And I actually have a discount code for all of your listeners. If they use the code organized at checkout, they get $20 off their first month.
Awesome. And we'll have links to all of that in our show notes. So don't worry about writing that down. We'll make sure that we have all that for you. Okay, we're going to take one more quick break, and then when we come back, I'm just going to put you back in the hot seat for our wrap-up questions. So sit tight. All right, Laura, this has been so great. And I love when I talk to people who are passionate about what they do, because I think that really translates to our listeners, and then they get fired up about things. So definitely thank you so much. We're all about honesty and authenticity and inspiration here. Like, that's kind of the name of the game. So can you share with us a book that has been really transformative in your life? It could be personally, it could be professionally, but something, if someone's listening out there, like they're looking for some inspiration, what's your go-to?
Should I pick one?
You can pick a couple. Yeah.
As you probably could imagine, I love me some Jen Sincero, and You Are a Badass. Her first book was my favorite of all of hers. Another one might be a shocker is because it was published in the 40s, is How to
Okay.
Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale
Ooh,
Carnegie.
yeah.
If anyone is ever stressed or has ever dealt with anxiety, like that is, and it's not even like a book to me. It's like a guide. Like
Yeah.
he gives such great examples, stories, and like tactics that you can actually apply into your life that can really calm your mind and like put it all into perspective and make you realize that there are a million things you could worry about at any moment in time, and spending that time worrying, you're wasting your life, so that probably is one of my favorites. And
I
like,
love
I'm
it.
an audiobook person. I
Okay.
will warn you, if people are reading or if they do that on audiobook, it's not read by him, but the guy who reads it will put you to sleep. So
Okay. Okay.
so
We'll
you
we'll we'll
you
make a
may want
note
to
of
read the
that.
actual book.
That's so funny. And then, of course, our final two questions that we ask every guest is, where in this particular season of your life do you feel the most organized? And where do you feel like a little bit of a hot mess?
Well, I feel the most organized in my business, like inbox zero. Like I am very type A when it comes to how I run things. I want everything perfect. So that's easy. Hot mess. My personal inbox. I'm at like 30,000 unread emails there. And probably my closet. I am one of those people that have a really hard time letting things go. But it is coming in handy right now because all those jean skirts that I held on to from college,
They're all
they're
coming
coming
back.
back in 2021. So I have them handy.
Oh my gosh. And hey, kudos to you to be able to fit into them, because I don't think I could
Yes,
fit into the same
yes,
jean
yeah.
skirts as college.
Yeah.
Well, Laura, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, if this is your first time tuning into our show, welcome. We put out new episodes each and every week. Sometimes they're geared more towards personal organization. Sometimes it's geared more towards professional development, but it's all about helping you live an integrated and organized life. And so, again, feel free to share this information with a friend. Follow us on social media. We have a Facebook group for free called This Organized Life Podcast. You could post questions, topics, anything you want, or follow us on social media at Simply Be Organized. I'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, I'm Lori Palau. Peace out.